We're going off early.
Howdy! How's everybody out there in YouTube land today? Lord have mercy.
We
Here
started
we are.
21 seconds early.
Well, hey, better early than never.
We're giving our audience extra content. How
That's
about
right.
that?
That's their bonus. Oh, we got Arlene out there. We got Steve over there at Harneal Media is out there. Hey, everybody, share this thing out and let everybody know that we're live up here. And we don't want to be the best kept secret on the internet. That Susan puts out bulletins about that. She tries to keep us, under wraps. tells all her friends. She says, "Now don't promote them. Don't let anybody know they're out there."
I'm trying to get on her good side, but everything I do just tends to make it worse and worse. So
she's afraid we'll tell all of her secrets, is what it is. She's right. We will. If we find out what they are, by George. Here we are. We have completed the first week of 2021. 51 more to go. And we'll be through this. Oh, my goodness. I tell you what, it's been a roller coaster. I started out my week at the dentist.
Well, that's never fun.
Because that crown broke off and I had to go to the dentist. So I started out my Monday morning over at the dentist's office. And if you want to know more about that, you'll have to watch my Heifer Haven that'll come out tonight because it's kind of comical. In a sad sort of way, it's kind of comical. They hired a new girl up there at the dental office.
I take it that didn't go well.
Oh, Miss Mary Sunshine. Don't you just hate it when people are just so sickeningly sweet that just, it's like it oozes out of their pores and, and you're in a bad mood to begin with?
If they're sweet and competent, that's one thing. If they're sweet and yeah.
No common sense. Not 1 ounce of common sense in this child.
Let me ask you. I got a question for you. Would the phrase "bless her heart" be a fitting phrase for this person?
Not even. No. It went way beyond that. I mean, it was to the point where I almost got her. She just stayed out of reach.
She doesn't know how lucky she is.
Take one step closer and ask me one more question. Oh, man, I tell you what. Let's see. Mutt Nuts is in the house. Good to see you.
I'm Mutt Nuts.
It's Michelle out there. I hope everything's going well for you so far this year. I hope this week wasn't any indication of things to come on. That rug that I'd been waiting for my studio?
Right, yeah.
It came today.
Okay, good.
It's not what I expected.
Oh, no. Did you buy it on Wish?
No, but it's got to be their cousin. It's pretty, I will say that, but I don't think it's rug quality.
Is it the size you thought it was?
Yes.
Because I see a lot of these memes where they show the ad. It's a beautiful rug, and they get it, and it's literally 4 inches by 4 inches.
It was the right size, but it wasn't a good thick rug. Like if you go to the store to buy a rug, Walmart or any of them, and you find them, they're in a roll.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, this one came folded up like a throw for your couch. It's a little thicker than that, but it's not. I don't think it's going to make a rug for the floor.
Oh,
so now I'm glad I didn't start painting that floor because now I'm rethinking, what I may do up there before I get started with that.
Mm-hmm.
Have to, check the finances out a little bit and see what I'm going to do. But I mean, it's pretty. It would make a nice wall hanging.
Okay.
But
is this going to be your YouTube studio?
Yeah.
Well, a rug on the wall would be good for sound dampening.
Well, but there's really not any place to put it, is the thing. There's one wall, and that's where my sticker board's going to go. And then there's windows.
Understood. Yeah. Mutt Nuts World says, counting down the days till my 43rd birthday. Well, look at that. Happy early birthday, Michelle.
She's just a baby.
Brandon the Pinocchio came in. Hello, hello.
Hey, Brandon, good to see you.
Must be talking to the heifers behind you. He says, moo.
Yeah, I'm out here hanging in the barn with the heifers, just me and the heifers. They taught me everything I know.
Braid a big rug.
Well, I have done that in the past, but this one, I liked it because it's an owl theme.
Oh,
and
right.
I collect owls. And so my owl collection is going to go in the studio. And I thought that would just be a nice addition. But I mean, you couldn't like have a chair on that rug because it's not going to stay put.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't wanting to use a bunch of double face tape and stuff to try to tape it down to the floor. And even then, I'm not sure with it not being a thick pile like I thought it was going to be. I'm afraid it would probably get ripped or just not wear. So I don't know.
Here. Jimbo says if you have an Ollie's, they have awesome rugs at real good prices. Do you know what Ollie's is?
No.
It's a discount store. And I knew the owner. He passed away in late 2018, early 2019. And yeah, they buy the unclaimed freight and then they sell it in their warehouse stores. And it's all marked down like new items.
Mm-hmm.
And you never know what they're going to have because it all depends on what people didn't claim on the trucks. So the inventory is always different.
It sounds like a Big Lots or an Odd Lots.
Yeah. Yes. But it's specifically unclaimed freight. And you can buy, shelving, tools, and you name it.
Mm-hmm. What at this point, I think what I would like to do, I don't think my bank account will like it, but what I would like to do is just go up to we got a carpet store here in town, and just go up there to the carpet store and see what kind of like vinyl, sheet vinyl stuff that they've got and have them do the floor in that. I want something that my chair will be able to roll on to get around the room.
Yeah, I have the vinyl floors that they click into each other.
Well, I tried that up there, and that was a disaster. That's the one that went south because the floor's not level. See, this old 1900s house, there is nothing level. Everything's crooked. Everything is out of whack.
You drop a marble on the floor, and it starts rolling away.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we tried putting that stuff up there, and it was horrible. It wouldn't click together. The next day, it was even worse. When I went up and looked at it the next day, I was crying because it was popping apart without anything even bothering it. Mm-hmm. And I thought, no, I can't roll my chair across that. I'll be popping them boards right up off the floor and break my neck and everything else. So no.
I made the mistake of putting soundproofing under the laminate floor, like the click-on, slats.
Mm-hmm.
And the laminate or the soundproofing, it's like little styrofoam balls sandwiched between two pieces of thin plastic
right
in a roll. But when you walk on the floor, like the floor, it kind of compresses the styrofoam just a little bit. So I needed to put a plastic chair pad on top of my nice vinyl floor because the wheels of the floor, the roller office chair would dig into it. Was starting to ruin the floor.
Yeah.
If I just didn't put, I don't know why I put this. I'm like, why not? I'm like, seems like a good idea.
I've been there. Yeah. It seems like a good idea at the time. And then you do it and you're like, I mean, putting that tongue and groove stuff on the floor up there, I thought, was a wonderful idea. Looking at the floor, it looked level to me. I thought, yeah, I think this is level enough that we can put that up there. Well, then the next thing was I asked my maintenance guy if he knew how to put that stuff down. Oh, yeah. So I thought he had experience with it. No, he had never messed with that stuff ever. And then when we got up there, he wouldn't listen to me about how it needed to be done. And I just kind of thought, well, he knows what he's doing, and kind of turned him loose with it. And by the next day, it was very apparent that no, he didn't have a clue as to what he was doing. And I should have never turned him loose with it. And it was going to be just a big mess. And we hadn't quite finished it. We had one row to lay in. It was the row that was going to have to be cut with a table saw to lay the last row in, and it was going to be crooked. It was going to be like 3 inches wide at one end and 5 inches wide at the other end. It's going to look like hell. And so he comes back a couple days later to finish it up, and I asked him, I said, okay, before we get started, I want to know, what's your plan of action? Well, I got a table saw, and, we'll cut that. And I said, what are we going to do to even all that up with it being, wider at one end than the other end? Well, it's just going to be the way it is. And I said, well, what are we going to do about all the gaps in it up there, where you can see the tile floor underneath the wood panels?
Yeah, it's not.
And I said, it looks worse now than it did when you left the other day because it's separated out even more.
Got some new people coming in. We have Artfully Blind with Diana and Shalalala Productions.
Hey, good to see both of you. Hope everything's going well where you are.
Luana Pierce just jumped in here. Hi, Luana.
Hey, Luana. Good to see you. Hope all's
going
well
stressful already. So when Brenda stresses me out, I'm going to relieve my stress with the stress.
It's coming. But yeah, he's just kind of looking at me like deer in the headlights. And I said, well, I think I got a different plan of action than what you have. And he said, what? And then he could kind of read it on my face. He says, you want to take it back up, don't you? And I said, yeah. I said, because we can't leave it up there in the shape that it's in. We can't finish it with it being crooked and a big mess. I can't live with that. I said, right now, the only thing I like about it is the color. I said, it's a pretty color, but.
Arlene's leaving. She's got to go. Have a beautiful night, she says. You too. Drop
Thanks
a like
for
on your way out.
in. Hit that like button.
Yep.
But yeah, so we took it back up, and I got the paint and stuff to paint the floor. But the idea was, the rug was going to cover the biggest part of that, and now I'm not going to be able to put that rug down. So I'm having to rethink this whole thing. I'm glad I didn't jump ahead and say, well, everything just be darned. I'm going to go, paint that floor anyway. It's not like I can't use paint someplace else. Because
what'd you do with all of the laminate tile tongue and groove things?
It's stacked up in my living room. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do with it, but I do have craft projects that I can use it in, and I'll make a heck of a lot of money on that if I use them in the craft projects that I do. So
you know what's nice about that vinyl tongue and groove stuff? Waterproof, 100% waterproof.
Yeah.
In my sump well, I have a sump pump and a sump well. I put one of those tiles in the sump well to kind of keep the water going the direction I wanted. And it sat in the water for 2.5 years. Just as good as it was when I put it in there. It's completely waterproof. But anyway.
Yeah, I make these little houses, villages. They're old-timey houses and churches and
little miniatures
and barns. Well, no, they stand about 12, maybe 15 inches tall, depending upon what I'm making. And barns, tobacco barns, and saloons, and all that kind of stuff. And you put a light in them, light them up.
Okay.
And that stuff would be perfect for making those. I'd have to paint it, but it would still be perfect for making them. And so it'll sit here until such time as and I get everything caught up, because pretty much the whole house is going to be redone this year. I've got plans for every room in the house, stuff that's got to be done. So that's going to be my big claim to fame this year. As soon as I can get all my strength back, it's coming back a little bit at a time. I went out this morning, I ran my errands and stuff. And when I got back, it was time for lunch. I made lunch, and then it was like, holy smoke, it's siesta time. I got to get some rest here, and warm me out because it's cold, and get out there and freeze half to death trying to get things done, and people aggravating you every place you go.
I'll be glad when spring comes around. Oh, new one popped in the chat. Copy Hitman channels. Hello.
Kopi? Yes, good to see you, Kopi.
Welcome to Mind Equals Blown.
Glad you came by. You never know what we're going to talk about here. Right now, we've been talking about flooring and redoing rooms and houses, and Lord, you got any big house projects or craft projects or anything over there where you're at?
House project? Well, yeah, my sump pump stopped working. And here I found out it was it got air underneath it. So it was running, but no water was coming up because the little vent hole got plugged up.
Well,
If you take a cup and push it into like a tub of water, the air stays in the cup. Like that was the same principle. So I bought a brand new sump pump because I thought it was broken, and I paid installers to install it. All I had to do was just drill a little hole into the pipe. You just drill a 3/16 hole, and that's enough to let the air out and the water to come up to reach the propeller. So now I'm $1,500 into this mess because I'm replacing the check valves. I'm kind of redoing all of it, and all of it would have been unnecessary if I got a drill and just drilled a tiny little pinhole in the ejector pipe.
Well, I haven't had to deal with a sump pump since back when I was on the farm, and that was back. I left the farm in 2004, but and my basement, I said they wrote a book about it, and it was called "A River Runs Through It." Because that basement was wet all the time, and so I had a big, powerful sump pump down there in that basement, and I had 2 of them, so that if one burnt up or something went wrong with it and needed to be cleaned, as all I had to do was pop one out, pop the other one in, hook it up to the drain pipe, and I'm good to go. Because you never wanted to leave it for very long, or everything down there was going to be, knee deep or waist deep in water.
I have 2 in mine as well, and the backup kicked on. That's how I knew it was a problem.
Mm-hmm.
The backup was running.
But yeah, I could install it myself. It was no big thing. As a matter of fact,
I could probably do it myself, but I'm like, I want to hire someone to do it.
Nothing had really been taken care of much when I went back out to the farm, after Dad had his stroke and stuff. So when I went down there in that basement, the sump pit had just kind of filled up with gunk and, was an awful mess. So what I did is I took a sledgehammer and some chisels and some crowbars. I went down there and I chiseled me out, cleaned out the hole that was there and chiseled me out a bigger hole. And then I took a 5-gallon bucket and sat down in that hole, and I cemented around it.
Just a 5-gallon bucket? Is that big enough?
That was big enough to drop that sump pump in.
Okay.
And then I
got
a 4-inch drain, one of those flexible drain hoses, and I got reducers and stuff to reduce it down to hook onto the sump pump. And it was a powerful sump pump too, by George. When it kicked on, it didn't take long to suck that water right up out of that basement. And I think that was probably the driest that basement ever was when I went back out there and
wow,
did my magic to it.
Got a super sticker from Luana Pierce.
Thank you. He's throwing kisses. Yes.
I don't have a kiss emoji, but I got a happy. This is how we feel when you give us super stickers.
That's right.
That helps for future giveaways.
That's right. Hopefully, AdSense will come through with a check. I don't, I look for it when I see it. And around the 23rd, hopefully this month, I will get a check. And so after that, we'll start doing the giveaways until such time as the money runs out. But yeah, all the super chat money and everything that comes in to the channel goes out in the way of postage for the giveaways. And I got a big old stack of stuff behind me, and there's more stuff in another room and probably more stuff upstairs and lots of stuff to give away.
Did you hear the crazy thing I did?
Which one?
Well, I launched a podcast about YouTube.
Oh, yeah?
I did. Yep. So you can go get it. It's at podcast.allthingsyoutube.com. Just put podcast in front of this, and that's where you can go get it. I'm kind of, I say I'm crazy because YouTube is a very visual thing, and I have an audio podcast about it. But anyway, got that going now.
Well, we'll see. Is it in favor of Susan or?
It's no different than the content on my Monday All Things YouTube live show.
Okay, so it's in favor of Susan.
Yeah, in favor of Susan. And we do some interviews. If someone wants to be interviewed about their channel, I might consider that. And we'll see.
So are you asking me?
Do you have anything to contribute to the wider YouTube audience? Because you do everything your own way.
That's right.
You follow no conventional wisdom.
Exactly. Exactly.
I don't post until I get 50 likes.
That's right.
50 views.
50 views.
No one does that. You're the only one that does that.
I dare to be different. Nobody can do it like me.
Oh.
So I think everybody wants to be cookie cutter. Everybody wants you to tell them, what am I supposed to do with my YouTube channel? What kind of content should I put on my YouTube channel? How am I supposed to promote my YouTube channel? How do you promote your YouTube? Stop it. You do you. That's what makes you unique and different, is you doing you. You can't, somebody else does a video about race cars, you do a video about race cars. And you don't know nothing about race cars. So what the hell are you putting out there? Nobody wants to know about something you know nothing about. Talk about what you know how to do, what you like to do. And other people that know how to do it or want to know how to do it and like the things that you do, it's going to come and see what you got to talk about.
There you go. So basically do whatever you want on YouTube and then success will follow. That's Brenda's playbook.
That's right. You do you.
Mel just showed up. Hi, Mel.
Hey, Mel. Mel says, I do videos about train cars. He does hobo videos, what he does. He shows how to hitch a ride on a
oh my
on a freight train. And
we have an interesting fact in the chat, Brenda.
True fun fact.
Sunglasses were originally designed for Chinese judges to hide their facial expressions in court, says Luana Pierce.
Well, Tracy, what's his name? Casey Neistat wears sunglasses on his channel so that you can't see where his eyes are.
Yeah, because he likes to look at the viewfinder instead of the lens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they'll hide. Not only do they hide that, but if you got like an eye infection or if you got a lazy eye or an eye that wanders. Have you ever seen those people who got the eye that kind of wanders around in their head? And that can be extremely distracting. I wish they'd wear sunglasses. And
Robert Lee from Shalalala Productions likes you. He says, Brenda dropping truth bombs. Kaboom.
That's right. Do you? That's all. You take a look in the mirror. Just go have a chat with that face in the mirror and say, okay, what do we like to do? There's some people that like to sleep all the time, and they do YouTube, and they'll have the video camera on them sleeping. And sometimes there's 3 or 4 of them piled up in the bed sleeping.
Oh, no.
I've seen these videos, live streams of these people sleeping in the bed, and there'll be thousands of people watching them.
Crazy. Portal Woodworks is here. Hi, Portal.
Hey, Portal, good to see you.
Look at this new fact. Donkey Kong was the first game to tell a story via cutscenes, something almost every game does today. I didn't know Donkey Kong was the first. That's Donkey Kong right there. You see my Donkey Kong?
Oh, I'm glad you showed that because Lord have mercy.
DK, Donkey Kong.
I was afraid what he's going to show for his Donkey Kong up on the screen here on the live stream and going to get us thrown off of YouTube. You might want to keep your Donkey Kong under wraps. Oh, let's see. What else she got to say? She says people can suffer from a psychological disorder called boanthropy that makes them believe that they are a cow. and they try to live their life as a cow.
I gotta ask, have you ever been afflicted by that?
No. I like the cows.
Yeah.
I'll talk to the cows. I grew up on a farm with cows, and they're pretty personable. Unless you get a crazy one. Sometimes you get a crazy one. You get a crazy one, you just want to stay away from that one. Of course, it's the same thing with people. There are some people that, are kind of crazy, and you want to stay away from them too.
Stay away from the crazy cows. Got it.
The man said that his tie hides it. Hide that Donkey Kong. Yeah, cows are cool. Yeah, they're good, personable critters, and you don't want to get one upset with you because they're big animals and they can hurt you.
Well, those cows that came around when we were fishing on that farm, they did not like us fishing. My brother kept saying, Matt, we better go. I'm like, they're just cows. They won't hurt us. Matt, they're getting closer. No, they're fine. We finally decided to walk away, and they were all walking behind us. We picked up the pace, and they picked up the pace, and we went a little faster, and they went a little fast. And next thing we know, we were running as fast as it sounded like thunder. I was scared to death. I'm like, if I trip and fall, I'm dead.
They were just curious. They was just checking you out, What's this strange mess going on out here in our pasture? Who are these strange people? What's them sticks that they got there? What's going on, And so they're getting closer to kind of check you out. And, if they got right up to you, they'd probably lick you a little bit because your skin's salty, and they want to lick on you a little bit.
Mr. Dutchy Dutch is here. It's been a while since I've seen Mr.
Hey, Mr. Dutchy Dutch. How's everything over there across the pond?
I pop into his streams. He still does all the video game streaming.
Does he still have that pretty hair?
Well, I don't see him on camera.
He don't get on camera no more? Hey, you got the prettiest spiked hair you ever did see.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
The first thing I ever noticed about him was that pretty spiky hair that he's got going on. Luana says, true fact, the stage before frostbite is called frost nip, and that's something that you don't want to experience. Been there, done that. I don't like winter. I don't like cold. It's dangerous. A lot of people just crazy over the winter and the cold and the snow. Now, I was raised out in the middle of the country where I got snowed in at school for a week at a time. And, back then, they didn't cancel school. They didn't care. I mean, if it came 2-3 foot of snow, you went anyway. You was going to school. You'd have to stay there once you got there, sleep on the gym floor for a week.
They wouldn't let you go home?
You couldn't get home. Buses couldn't run. You'd be snowed in. There you are.
How'd you get a shower? I mean, there's like basic toiletries you need.
The restroom there at the school, you got to use that, and that was it until you got to go home. Big old ice storm come through, and there was snow. When they finally did get to town to get me, I'll never forget that ride home in the pickup truck because the snow was piled up like 8 foot tall. You sitting in the truck looking up at the snow on each side of the road, and it was one lane. So if another vehicle coming at you, they had to try to find a lane or something to turn off into to let you pass, or you had to find a place to turn off to let them pass. And the icicles hanging like 2-3 foot long off of the electric wires and stuff. No, I don't like winter. No, it's treacherous. And not so much here in town. When you live in town, it's not quite that big of a deal. And in 2 or 3 days, they have things cleaned up so that you can go about your business, do what you need to do. But you live out in the sticks, buddy. You're stuck out there. Either stuck there or stuck wherever you're at. Yeah.
Got a couple more facts in here. Martin Luther King Jr. got a C in public speaking, says Mel. You never know it.
Well, you might not believe this. Well, some of you may think that he was giving me a compliment, but my guidance counselor in high school said that I was most likely to be a hamburger flipper. He gave
Wow.
me no credit whatsoever, buddy. He thought I was dumber than a box of rocks. Of course, something probably had to do with that. You know, when they have you do them what do they call them efficiency tests, where you mark the little boxes with
Mm.
the number 2 pencil and all that. I never read the questions. I just draw designs.
Oh no, little zigzags.
Well, I'd make like airplanes and little ponies and
No.
yeah, and turn that thing in. And so they call you in one at a time. They're the guidance counselor's office, you know, to tell you what they thought that you need to study for your career. And he gets me in there and he's looking at this paper and looking up at me and looking at this paper and then look up at me and he says, "You're going to be lucky to be a hamburger flipper."
Oh no. That's a pretty crap thing to say to a kid.
Yep. I mean, nobody appreciated my talent. It's, you know, that has been the whole thing my entire life. It's nobody appreciates my talent.
Well,
Now, what my talent is exactly, I can't even tell you, but I've got it.
whatever it is, there's 11,800 of them on your channel that subscribe to you.
Oh, shoot. Let's see. Mel has something up there. He says, over a decade before his legendary speech while attending Kozer Theological Seminary in Pennsylvania, he earned a C in public speaking during his first and second term.
2 C's. Wow.
Now, speech and public speaking, I always excelled at in school. As a matter of fact, when I went to college, my professor, in my speech class, when it got time to give the final, you know, he says, "Who's ready to give their final?" And, you know, I'm doing the Horshack back there.
Yeah.
"Pick me! Pick me!" Yeah. And he's like, "You can just shut up. You're already getting an A." He was so sick of hearing from me, he didn't know what to do.
Yeah. I'm so thankful that in high school, one of our teachers made every student talk for 2 or 3 minutes in the class. And that was the start of it. And then I was an elected school board member, and you had to speak at the meetings in a group, and that helped as well. But public speaking, it's a learned thing. It's not something people get good at overnight. Like, it's time on task, practice. Like, you need to log the hours to get good at it.
Well, I was scared to death to speak when I was in high school until I took speech. But most of the words, I didn't know how to pronounce them, you know, and so I didn't want to get up there and look like an idiot in front of the class. And I had this history teacher that decided that it would be a good idea for everybody to read something out of the book. I think she's just trying to prove that people knew how to read. And so, she'd get to me and my face turned 50 shades of red because I wasn't wanting to do it anyway, but everybody else had to do it. And so, I'd start reading and everybody'd start laughing because I'm mispronouncing words left, right, and sideways. And she had a lot of patience, but of course I was embarrassed out of my mind because I didn't know how to pronounce these words and stuff. And, to do a test, I could recognize the words, because I'd read them in the book and do that, but to actually pronounce them, I had problems. So I had to learn how to overcome that. And now I don't know how to pronounce a lot of words as it is, but I do the best I can with it. And if people don't like it, well, then, maybe that's where they need to take over.
Ellen DeGeneres said something that was actually pretty profound, and not coming from Ellen. But she says, the more people that are in the room, the more comfortable she is. Because as a comedian, statistically speaking, someone's going to be laughing. No matter what you say, if there's a crap ton of people. Now, if there's a small crowd, it might not land. So she's very nervous in front of 20 people, and she's super comfortable in front of 2,000.
Yep. Yep. I can believe that. Yeah. Let's see. Luana says, the process by which bread toast is called the Maillard reaction, or Maillard reaction.
Is it true they have a toaster where it's Bluetooth and you can program the design you want it to burn in your toast?
I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't even use a toaster. I've got a skillet.
Oh, yeah.
I've got a skillet. You put a little butter there in the skillet and let it start to melt. Just throw your bread down on there, and in about 60 seconds, it's nice and toasty on one side. You just flip it over, and it's toasty on the other side. I make my grilled cheese sandwiches the same way.
I
Right there
do
in the
open
skillet.
face. I put one piece of cheese on each bread, and then you slam them together.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah,
how we did it at the restaurant.
yeah.
And when my wife, when I was dating my wife, she saw me cook grilled cheese, and she's like, "That's a genius way to cook grilled cheese." I was like,
I like to put a few pickles on it too. Sliced
"I
pickles.
know, I
Isn't that
know."
great? I made me a grilled cheese sandwich like that the other night with a bowl of tomato soup, Campbell's tomato soup. Used to have that when I was a kid, but
Oh, wow.
that was like
Delicious.
going home.
That was a school lunch every now and then. I love tomato soup and grilled cheese day. Hey, listen, there is a Sacramento grilled cheese festival every year in Sacramento, California. You and I should attend the Sacramento grilled cheese festival after, it's safe to do so. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, I can't go anywhere though right now because of my pets. Because they've
Oh,
only known me. They'd never survive if I had to put them anywhere.
all right.
So that
Well,
now
here,
they're getting older.
this offer is good to anyone in the chat room. If you want to go to California with me to the Sacramento Grilled Cheese Festival, PM me and we'll hook it up. And the grilled cheese that they name the different kinds of grilled cheeses, and this is where the show gets a little PG-13. All of the grilled cheese are named after sex acts. So the missionary is just bread, butter, and cheese. Like that's the basic. And then they go up.
And they get fancy from there.
They get fancy from there.
Now, once my dogs are gone, and they're getting older, they're not going to live forever. But once my dogs are gone, I could try to find some place for Fred long enough to go. But the stipulation will be, there's a catch to everything. Stipulation will be we have to travel together.
I was hoping we'd meet at the event.
and we got to video everything. Absolutely, everything's going to be
crew. I'll hire a crew.
That's right. Everything's going to be videoed. Me and you, as I can just see me crippling around the way I cripple around, walk. The shuffle walk, and
someone looks at you sideways and be like, "Lord have mercy."
Yeah. Somebody asked me some dumb question, and that's when I go off. Ask me one more question, I dare you. Take one step closer and ask me that question again. Let's say we got some more stuff going on here. But Dutchy Dutch wanted you to know that he's thinking about going back on cam, just got used to not doing it.
Gotcha.
And Luana says, Marmite, I think I'm pronouncing that right. It's little tiny print, and I don't have my spyglass here. But it says Marmite was one of the most confiscated items at airports from the UK. To overcome this issue, Marmite made smaller ones for traveling. Do you know what that is? It sounds like a little critter.
Yeah.
Ooh, I got the Marmites.
You got Marmites crawling on you.
It's like Mel says, Victor Frankenstein's creature is actually vegetarian. Frankenstein and creature are fictional characters created by Mary Shelley in her novel Frankenstein. Huh. That's interesting. In the novel, creature says, my food is not that of man. I do not destroy the lamb and the kid to glut my appetite. Acorns and berries afford me sufficient nourishment.
Yep. And Frankenstein is the name of the scientist. It's Frankenstein's monster. The monster isn't named Frankenstein. It's another thing. Okay, Marmite. Tastes delicious. Spread thinly on toast. Try it on crisp bread with cottage cheese. Good source of vitamin B. Vitamins 100% vegetarian product of the UK. Thank you, Luana.
Mel says, cow bison hybrid is called a beefalo. You can even buy its meat in at least 21 states. You can probably get it here in Indiana. I know there is a buffalo farm on the other side of the state, over on the west side of the state. Buffalo meat's good.
They used to have buffalo as an option for burritos. It was a burrito place, and that was one of the meat chickens. Now I don't have it anymore, but
There's a place that's about, I'm going to guess, about 40 miles from me over in Ohio. It's called Buffalo Jack's. It's a little restaurant over there, and they serve all kinds of exotic meats. I'll have bear and elk and rattlesnake and buffalo and oh gosh, I don't even know what all. And I haven't been over there in like forever. And right now, with the lockdown stuff, they're probably not even open. But it's a quaint little place. They got a bar in one side of it, and they got all these buffalo mounts up on the wall, buffalo heads, and then there's 2 or 3 little dining rooms there off of the bar, and you order whatever strikes your fancy off the menu. It was always fun to go over there with different people that maybe had never gone there before or just enjoyed exotic meats and stuff, and get a nice meal.
cool. Cards Against Humanity brought an island to Maine to preserve wildlife. It's called Hawaii too. They brought an island? They bought an island. Sorry, they bought an island in Maine to preserve wildlife. Wow. You wouldn't think the Cards Against Humanity company would do something so good, since it's a pretty raunchy game.
Jim Bashir's is telling me that there is a buffalo farm just south of him, about 20 miles on US 41. Now, that's a different one than the one I'm talking about. The one I'm talking about is over by, pretty close to Brazil, Indiana. I used to pass it all the time when I was going over to Terre Haute and Brazil, Indiana, when I was working. And they had a store there where you could buy like buffalo hides and all kinds of horns and whatever you wanted. Let's see,
Nice.
going through Cards Against, that's the one you just read, the Cards Against Humanity.
That's a crazy game. That is like you get to really know someone, and how when you play Cards Against Humanity.
Yeah, I never got into that. I don't know if I've told you about this before or not. I got turned off about these video games and all that kind of stuff when my stepson was little, and he'd come to visit from California. And he come this one time with his Nintendo, and he had to hook it up to my TV. And that meant that all of my stuff had to be disconnected. My VCRs, I had 2 VCRs hooked up to it so I could record from one to the other, and I could record from the TV, and I had it all hooked up just the way I wanted. But all that had to be undone for him to have his Nintendo thing hooked up. Lord have mercy that he'd have to go a week or 2 without his Nintendo. So we'd hook up his Nintendo, and he's all hot to play these games. So the next morning, he got up and he's raring to go to play these games. And I said, "What you playing?" And he says, because I'm trying to take an interest in the kid, right? And so he says, "Oh, I'm going to play Dragon Slayer." And I said, "Oh, okay." And so I sit down in the chair there to watch him, and see how this is going, because I thought Dragon Slayer, it'd be cool. I like dragons, let's just see how this goes. And so the next thing I know, there's guys with chains and knives, and they're beating the hell out of each other, and there's like blood and and killing each other. And this goes on for about 15, 20 minutes. And I said to him, "Where's the dragon?" And he looks around at me like, I'm talking some foreign language. He says, "What?" And I said, "Where's the dragon?" And he says, "There's not any dragon." And I said, "I thought you said this thing was called Dragon Slayer." He says, "Well, that's the name of the game, but there's no dragon. It's just these guys fighting." And I said, "Unplug that thing." I said, "It's going back in the box. We're not watching such foolishness as that. Lord have mercy. There's more productive things that we've got to do than this." Of course, he was mad as hell, but, he learned to get over it. I wasn't having none of that foolishness. I mean, he was probably at that point in time, maybe about 9, 10 years old. And I'm thinking, he needs to be learning how to garden, and he needs to be, learning about how to take care of some animals. And,
It's hard to tell him that. So that's why I like coin operated video games. The game lasts a couple minutes and then it's done.
Yeah.
In and out.
We need to go to the Art Institute, or we need to go to the Museum of Natural History. You know, let's learn something that might benefit you in future years. You know, let me teach you some sort of a craft or something that beats this.
I'll tell you
So
what, though, my cousins had Pong, like the console Pong, and I was fascinated that you could turn the little spinner in your little joystick and you could control the pixels on the TV, and the pixels would behave based on how you could. And I was just like, that's the coolest thing ever.
well, I mean, hand-eye coordination, and you know, there's something to be said for that. But this thing he was doing, I'm like, Lord have mercy, you man, you couldn't find something a little bit more educational than this for this child, you know. And so I just got kind of turned off of it from there and stayed that way. Let's see what else we got out here in the chat. Luana says, not anything like video game, it's card game. It's highly sexual card game.
You're talking
You
about
really,
Cards Against Humanity.
yeah, you really do get to know maybe TMI.
Too much information.
I learned a few things via Google. Okay, if I have to start learning about, you know, sexual things by Googling it at my age, maybe I don't need to know.
Well, yeah, I know. I don't think Cards Against Humanity would enlighten you in that area. I doubt it.
I mean, you know, I've always said that I've never been around the block, but I sure as hell been up and down the street a few times.
Okay.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Oh, the Urban Dictionary she's talking about. Have you ever been on Urban Dictionary on the web?
No.
Oh, yeah. Like you'll read these terms in someone's post. Like, what are they talking about? You go to Urban Dictionary, you're like, oh, that's where it all starts. You know.
Oh, she says the terms in the Urban Dictionary, not the actual actions. Oh, okay. Well, you know, we're comparing apples to oranges then.
Yeah. Gotcha. Loud and clear, Luana.
Well, I say, you know, you tell me something, it's liable to go a whole different direction than where you intended it to go. Oh, shoot.
You know, some of the acts have pretty crazy names, like Dirty Sanchez. You know, there's some pretty weird ones.
And the sliding trombone.
Chili Dog.
I mean, hey, I grew up with gosh, what was their names? Tom and it was a radio show out of Indianapolis. Bob and Tom. And if you don't know who Bob and Tom are, you need to look them up. Google Bob and Tom and listen to some of their stuff. They've retired now, but their stuff was hysterical. Some of the things that they used to do. Their skits were unbelievable.
Oh,
and
my.
It was an early morning radio show. You could pick it up on a whole bunch of different channels because it was syndicated across the United States. And I used to listen to them every morning when I was on my way to work. And it was always good for some laughs before you got where you had to go that day. But yeah, and it pretty risque.
Opie and Anthony used to be an outrageous radio show. Are you familiar with Opie and Anthony?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they're going straight to hell. Like,
I mean, it was a different kind of show than Opie and Anthony. Bob and Tom, they were just comedy. And they had...
Queen Stacking's here. Hello. Welcome to the chat.
Nice to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hit that like button. Share this all out. Everybody gets to enjoy whatever it is we're doing here. But yeah, they had Christy was the girl that was on their show, and I can't think of the other guy's name. Chick McGee was on their show, and they all used to do all kinds of skits, and then they would have other comedians on their show, and people that did parody music would be on their show. And so it was just, everything was centered around that. But some of the stuff that they come up with, oh my goodness gracious, you would not believe. And Bob, he lived, I think it was just south of Indianapolis down there. He had bought him a real nice kind of farm type place. It wasn't a farm, but a lot of ground, and it had a pond on it, a great big pond. He was always working on this pond, and there was a tree out there by the pond, and he decided that it was dying. So he decided that he was going to have one of them chainsaw guys come in and do chainsaw art on this tree. And I don't know how much this cost him. It must have cost him a bundle, but it was all naked people piled up climbing this tree.
Oh my. Crazy.
They had a web page, and you could go to their web page. They put pictures and stuff up of the stuff they was talking about, because obviously you can't see through the radio, and people want to see what are they talking about here. And it was some funny stuff.
I think Opie and Anthony, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but the one guy got fired for this. They were doing a have sex in public contest where you had to take a selfie of you, and then it ended up in a church with a live church service. And they're like, "That's it, you're fired." Like, that was that's too far.
Going beyond, yeah.
And they had like Flash Fridays where, like, you're in the commute to work, you would solicit the other passengers in other cars to give them. It was outrageous. Anyway.
Yeah, there's some of them there in the chat that know who I'm talking about with Bob and Tom. Luana says in 1862, the king of Siam offered Abraham Lincoln many elephants on the grounds that a country as great as the United States should not be without elephants. Lincoln politely declined.
No.
I mean, there's uses for elephants, I guess, but our country really don't have that need.
That's how pandas made a big presence in America. It was the wife of a president, I forget who, was at a meeting, and someone from China was there and was smoking cigarettes, and on the cigarette package was a picture of a panda. Must have been the brand. And she says, "I would love one of those." And he goes, "Oh, here," and offered her a cigarette. He goes, "No, not a cigarette, a panda." And then it was from that the Chinese government gifted America, they made a deal, and, then that's how it started, the fascination with pandas. Yeah.
Well, the next time I see somebody like with a big satchel of money, I want one of those. Well, not the satchel, the money inside the satchel.
Yeah, they can remove all the dollar bills. Here's the satchel.
Well, speaking of money, you're not doing too good in your lottery winnings, are you?
Nope.
Well,
nope. Not hitting the Powerball. I am the king of not hitting the Powerball.
But so it's your attitude. I'm telling you, it's your attitude.
Attitude has nothing to do with winning or losing.
Yeah, it does. You got to get a more positive attitude, because you manifest things with a positive attitude, or you're manifesting things with your negative attitudes, what you're doing. But if you change your attitude, so that's why I win a little bit now and then. I can't quite get my attitude all the way up there, but I'm working on it. I'm headed the right direction.
Like to win something, like two numbers. Like what if I just had two numbers, not the Powerball, just two numbers? What would that earn me?
Well, I'd have to look at the chart, because I don't have them all memorized. Oops. Well, stop that.
And then see, I I was telling Brenda before the show, in Pennsylvania, you can buy the Powerball on the phone through the Pennsylvania lottery app. And so I put enough money in to buy 2 weeks worth. I buy 3 tickets, three tickets each draw. So I'll put $18 in there. Well, then they gave me a free $5 for signing up, like a first time bonus. And now I'm like, oh.
Well, now for the Powerball, just getting numbers without the Powerball, you'd have to have 3. If you get 2 numbers and the Powerball,
okay,
that's good for $7 unless you're playing the multiplier. And then it's whatever the multiplier is times
Isn't
7.
the Powerball the multiplier?
No, the Powerball is the Powerball. If you're playing the multiplier,
the power play. Isn't the power play the multiplier?
Well, the power play. If you play the power play, it's whatever number comes up, and it can be from 2 to 10. Now, when it gets this big, they eliminate the 10 out of it. So your power play is usually like 2 or 3. This last one, it was a 3.
I'm confused. What is the talk to me like I don't know anything. What is the power play?
The power play is the multiplier.
Oh.
So if you buy a ticket for $1, you don't get the multiplier. If you tell them you want the multiplier, it costs you $3 a ticket. However, for example, if you get the Powerball, that's all. You don't get any of the other numbers. You just get the one Powerball number. That's good for $4. And you played the multiplier with it. Depending upon what the multiplier is, and like I say, the last draw, it was 3.
No.
4 times 3 is $12.
One number doesn't equal a win.
Powerball. One Powerball, the red number.
Oh, see. I see. Well, when I go up to the counter, I say I want a random Powerball ticket with the power play.
Yes.
Does that mean I get the multiplier?
Yes. So if you just hit that red Powerball, just the one number, the red one.
Yeah.
All right. That's good for $4. But you played the multiplier. This last drawing was times 3. So 4 times 3 is 12. You would have won $12.
Only for the red ball.
Well, in that case, but if you had one number and the red ball, or if you had 2 numbers and the red ball, or 3 numbers and no red ball, or 3 numbers and the red ball. See, and it keeps going up. So,
Gotcha.
For example, if you hit 4 numbers in the red ball, that's $50,000. Times 3 is $150,000.
Gotcha. All right, I follow now.
Now, after
all I want is the 410 million. Like that, is that too much to ask?
Well, with your attitude, yeah.
So if I got all white balls and the red one, I would get 400, or just all white. But what if I just got all white balls?
That's worth $1 million. If you play the multiplier, you get $2 million.
So if I hit every white ball but not the red one, that's not 410 million?
No.
Okay.
However, right now, as it stands, it's worth $470 million. And if you take cash out on that, it's $362.7 million. And you'll get like 49% of that. So it's a little over $100 million.
If you get it in a lump sum, it's less?
Oh, yeah, because taxes are going to come out of that.
Oh.
The government sees you coming.
You should never take the annuity, ever.
No.
Never, ever. You could invest it more wisely.
What I'm saying is, when you look at that cash value, you figure you're only going to get 49% of what that cash value is, because the government's going to see you coming and they're going to get their share of that before you see it.
I got it.
So it's worth, I don't know, about 130, roughly.
I'll take it.
Yep.
I'll take it.
It'll get me where I want to go.
Sure. Yeah. I'd last a lifetime.
Yep. So there you go. The next drawing is Saturday, by the way, for anybody out there that might be interested in the Powerball. Tomorrow night's Mega Millions, and it's about the same amount of money. So 6 of one, half a dozen of another, I guess. I'm just looking for all them numbers to line up on my ticket. So if I just suddenly disappear,
be like, kiss my butt, world.
if I just suddenly disappear, you'll know, well, I guess she must have hit or died one. And with my luck, I'll probably hit and then I'll die.
Don't jinx it, Brenda. Don't jinx it.
Give me a heart attack. Oh, shoot. Let's see. I've been ignoring the chat here. What's going on in the chat?
I'm not sure our Powerball discussion was very fascinating for our viewers, but thanks for sticking through.
Well, it was an educational experience. See, we had an educational experience here on the show for a change.
David has some stats here. Friends of mine won $280 million on the Mega Millions, bought a home, $110 million after everything. Okay. Spend it all on the home. There. It's a valuable asset.
You got to be careful. I will preface this on what your team is if you happen to hit big money, because there's always opportunists out there to take advantage of you, and this is an example of what can happen. I always try to look ahead because I try to be a positive person and think that, okay, somebody hits this. Why shouldn't it be me? So if I were to hit, what would my chain of reaction be that I would need to do in order, to be successful taking care of this responsibility? I mean, that's really the only way to look at it. It's a big responsibility. And so, thinking about putting your dream team together, you have to have a good lawyer or set of lawyers that know about lottery and lottery law and how to invest and how to look out for your best interest. And they have to have some scruples. You can't just go out there and get, Joe Blow, greasy attorney guy.
Exactly.
And I had put a list together of people that I would want to represent me that I had done some research on the internet. And I thought this would be a pretty good team. And so a few months ago, imagine my surprise when I found out that the lottery lawyer, who was the #1 lottery lawyer in the United States, has been indicted along with the dream team that he had set up. The dream team's still in prison right now, awaiting trial.
No.
They have set the lottery lawyer free on bond, so he is out running around now. But yeah, so
my goodness,
you're really going to want to do the homework to make sure. But yeah, the write-up that I read on it is they had taken a bunch of people for a whole lot of money, and the mob was involved. And
oh no,
yeah.
Mark Lindsay CNC just showed up. Hi, Mark.
Hey, Mark, good to see you. Hope all's going well for you this new year.
He says, I'm just in time to miss you, right? Yeah, we're going to wrap up here soon, Mark. But we're glad you're here. Drop a like, please, please, please. And I'd like to announce Mark Lindsay CNC will be on my All Things YouTube show on Monday. He's going to drop some knowledge on how to get many more eyeballs on your video with 5 easy clicks. Check it out. That's the 11th.
Okay.
Monday the 11th, 7 p.m. Eastern. Mark Lindsay on my screen. Can you believe it?
Now, how much are you having to pay him for that?
That's undisclosed. I'm under NDA. But I'm trying to class up the show to bring someone of his caliber on All Things YouTube.
And I've been told, I don't know how true this is, but I've been told that he ain't cheap, but he can be had.
Well, I'm sworn to secrecy. He says 5 or less, LOL. Okay, more eyeballs with 5 or less clicks.
Well, somebody out there, we're not going to mention any names, Portal Woodworks, requested more cowbell.
I'm losing my hearing. You're not helping.
I might bring it back. There's only one thing wrong with you, and that's your hearing. And the way to cure it is more cowbell.
Well, when I get my appointment, I'm gonna get one of those fancy hearing tests, 45 minutes in the sound booth with a professional.
Mm-hmm.
I called a place to schedule, left a message, they never called me back. I guess they don't want my business.
It's amazing how some places even stay in business, and this pandemic thing's even made things worse. But trying to get answers out of people and trying to get people just an ounce of cooperation.
Some are the opposite, because I had the dermatologist. I canceled the dermatology because COVID, whatever, and they keep calling. Like, we want to get you rescheduled. We want to get you rescheduled. And I tell you what, they got money. Like, if you're going into the healthcare, you want to be a dermatologist as a doctor, because there is marble everywhere. There were lilies. You know how expensive live lilies in the waiting room, and
they rent that stuff.
I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, they rent all that stuff. A lot of them will rent these big fish aquariums and all kinds of fancy stuff there for their offices. And there's places that come in then and take care of it because it is rented and all that. But yeah, I discovered back in 1995 that anything to do with medical, it's big business. It's not about your health. It's about how much money they can bring in to support the big business.
Just that profession. I mean, think about it. There's no traumas. There's no, emergencies. I mean, you're popping pimples and dealing with sores. Just simple on the skin type stuff. I'm sure I'm downplaying it, but as far as doctor professions go, that's got to be the easiest one to do. And it's the most expensive. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And when I was going to the doctor, I noticed sitting in there in the doctor's office, and believe me, I spent a lot of hours sitting in doctor's offices, that, you look at fancy office furniture, fancy file cabinets, the big fancy fish aquariums, the big fancy plants, and plush seating and all this kind of thing. And the medical equipment and all that, it's big bucks, because every place I'm looking in this office, what I'm seeing is dollar signs. Every place I look. And they didn't want to get me well. They wanted to keep me just sick enough so that I kept coming back, is what it was, because I had good insurance at that point in time. And until I absolutely had a tantrum, that's the only way to boil it down. I had to have a tantrum in order to be able to save my life. Had I not, I'd not be here today. I would have died. I had cancer, and they weren't doing anything to save my life. So, that's why I tell people, look, if you have something wrong with you, you don't take a doctor's word for, okay, this is what needs to happen. You go get you a second, a third, a fourth opinion, whatever it takes. You fight with whoever it is that you have to fight with in order to try to save your life. It might not work. You may end up dying anyway, because everybody has a time when their number's up. But you do whatever it is that you need to do in order to try to save your life.
Yeah. I have a family member who had something in his felt like a pea, and he's like, I got to get this checked out, and went to the doctor. And they were like, he's like, I want a CAT scan. And the doctor says, oh, that's a $15,000 procedure, and we're not going to do that. And he was like, hold on, we're doing it. And he forced the issue, and he wouldn't let up. Sure enough, cancer.
Yeah,
like serious cancer too. Oh, my beaver light just fell. The beaver is in the dark.
Yeah, your light went out on your beaver.
Gotta get this back going here. Hold on.
Well, yeah, when I finally, this was like the fourth doctor I'd been through, and he's not wanting to operate on me, but he would always tell me, when I pin him down, I said, look, is it operable? If it's removed, can you get it all? Yeah. I said, then why aren't we doing that? And he said, well, just because it's not done. It's too many of these operations in this geographical area. It was just a bunch of stupid things.
Like
and
red tape type of talk.
Yeah. And so finally, I just had an absolute temper tantrum in his office. And when I did that, it pushed him to the limit when he told me the real truth. The real truth was that my insurance company was not approving for the operation. And I said, I pay them. They represent me. You are my doctor. Your concern needs to be my health, not what the insurance company's going to do. I will deal with them. And to make a long story short, about 2 weeks later, I had my operation. But yeah, sometimes you have to get it pinned down to exactly what is the problem here and go after the source. There's a lot of people just kind of roll over. Well, my doctor says, well, don't take that for gospel. He's just one person.
You are your own best advocate when it comes to health, and you got to be relentless.
Yep. Sure enough. Sure enough. Mark Lindsay says,
Woodworking's here. Hi, Frankie.
Hey, Frankie. Good to see you. Yeah. Mark Lindsay says, that's the new name for my garage band, Beaver in the Dark.
Yeah, no, we have a policy at the Haas house. All beavers must be very well lit and not be in the dark.
Yeah, I had a band once. It was called Deer in the Headlights. Have you seen that picture that's circulating over on Facebook where they say they want to see a drawing of the scene of the accident, and they draw this deer out in front of the car with his eyes about this big?
He drew a first person of him driving the car. You see the steering wheel, the dashboard, and the windshield, and there's a happy little cartoon deer going, ah!
I had 2 instances like that. I had 2 deer strikes like that, and I thought, boy, isn't that's dead on. That's what you see when it happens.
I totaled my last car by hitting a deer by accident, and it was crazy. And when I was talking to the adjuster, because the driver's side headlamp was all smashed up, and then there was a dent in the rear door, the door behind the driver's, and the side mirror was untouched. I'm like, how is it smashed there? And this weird dent back there. He goes, the animal spun around. When you hit that animal, it spun around, missed the mirror, and its ass hit the rear door. And I'm like, that's exactly what happened. That thing, it spun like a top. It was like,
now the first one that I hit, I didn't kill it. It scampered off because I wasn't going fast enough. It was in the fog. That's why I didn't see the deer until
he was limping, but he was walking.
This one took off, but it did like $2,500 worth of damage to the car. Luckily, it wasn't my car, but nonetheless. So
I think mine came out to, it was like $300 more than totaled. Like if it would have been $301 of damage less, they'd have fixed it. But
this was a new car. It was only like a year old. And the car's in the shop. It was a foreign car. So it's in the shop for like 6 weeks while they're ordering parts from Korea to come in to replace the tore up parts. We get the car back. The next time I take it out, which is like 3 or 4 days later, I nail another deer. This time I nailed the sucker though. At least I got the meat, you know. It's like, if I'm going to take you out, I might as well get some benefit out of this.
Oh, man.
It was a pretty expensive deer, but.
Look at Mark's comment. It says, anyone can hit 1 deer. My wife hit 2 at 70 miles per hour in her Jeep.
And still didn't total it.
Jeeps are like little tanks.
But yeah, the funny part of all that was.
Uh-oh. Your brother from another mother's here.
Hey, Jim Doggerel.
We're getting ready to jump off. Glad you're here.
He thinks we are, but I'm still telling stories. The funny part of all that was that when I get back to the house, get the deer and the car limped back to the house, I had to call the insurance company. And I knew they were not going to be real happy about this because they just put out all this money for getting it fixed the first time. And so, you know, I'm telling them, hey, I hate to be the one to inform you, but this morning I nailed another deer. And it is what it is. And the guy starts asking me all these questions like he thinks I'm making this up.
Oh.
And I was so irritated because, I mean, my whole morning had been shot. I was on my way to work, so I'm missing a day's work over all this. The car is tore up. I've got to deal with this deer now to get it processed. And I thought, I don't need a hassle out of you. You know, I pay the insurance. It is what it is. Let's get the car fixed and move on. I've got other things to do. So he starts asking me all these questions like I'm making all this up. And I said, okay, all right. I said, here's what really happened. I just wanted some deer meat so bad that I went and found a deer and waited alongside of the road for this deer to decide to cross the road so that I could hit it. And that's how all that deer hair is embedded in the headlights and underneath the hood, and there's deer crap all over the car where I hit this deer. And yeah.
Did that shut him up?
And you know, at this point, he's figuring out, okay, she's really pissed. So he's like, all right. I understand. And I said, I can take this to the body shop as it is and let them deal with it and send you pictures, or you can send somebody out to look at this or whatever you want to do. But I assure you, I have better things to do with my time than be fooling around with deer strikes every few days. But I blamed it. Now, I guess I could be wrong, but I'm all these years, grew up in the country, lived in the country, driven all kinds of vehicles, all different colors of vehicles, all different sizes of vehicles. And the one thing that I blamed this on was the color of that car. It was called cashmere. And it was kind of a light brown color, like maybe a color of a fawn. And to hit two of them and that short of a time span told me that there had to be something about that car that the deer were not differentiating to get out of the way of.
I don't know.
And I never hit another one since. So that's the only thing that I could blame it on. But yeah.
Yeah, they do a lot of damage. I'll tell you that much. A lot of damage.
Frankie says the thing is they will stand and wait for the car. If you use firearm, they tend not to wait on it. I watched the neighbor one time. We lived up on a hill, and they had a Jeep, and I saw them. They was going down the hill into the valley, and I saw a deer out in the field out there. And I thought, well, I know, that he sees that deer out there. And so surely he's going to miss it. He slows way down. And just as he gets up to about where that deer is in the field, that deer takes off out across that road and he hits it. I thought, how did that just happen? How did I just see what I just saw? He saw the deer out there. The deer saw him, could have easily gone the other way. But even then, when the deer takes off, just hit the brakes. He'd slowed down. But no, hit that deer.
Unbelievable.
I thought, I guess it was just meant to be. The deer had some kind of a death wish or something. Jim Bashir says, I thought it was the Salt Lick hood ornament, not the color, Brenda. Well, my friends all said that they's going to come around. They's going to start putting hash marks on the side of the car and call me the deer slayer because I was hitting so many of them.
Oh, no.
Car shouldn't have antlers. Not even those funny ones people put on them at Christmas. We was driving in the country when I was a teen, nothing to do. Seen 10 of them. They was just walking around, walking next to us. Yeah, I have seen herds of deer out in the field. Not crossing the road, and it's usually right after dark, just as it's starting to get dark at night. So I learned a long time ago that, when you live out here in Booneyville, out in the country and stuff, you don't want to be getting out on the roads, just as it's getting dark or just as it's getting daylight, because that's when they're moving. You're okay if it's snowing. They don't like to get out in the snow or the rain. But yeah, you learn that when you live out in the country long enough to see what they're doing.
I stop when I see them now, man. If I see a deer anywhere, I go way slow.
Jim Bashir says, Brenda, that Buffalo Park by us here, a ton of deer mix in with the buffalo, so the hunters can't get them. Yeah, deer are pretty smart. We had one out in the country there when I lived on the farm that I'd see every once in a while, and he had a big old rack of antlers on him, so he'd been around for a good while. I figure he must be pretty savvy. But the funniest thing with him, it was the last time I ever saw him, so I think his luck ran out. But I was going one way down a country road, and there was another car coming at me on this country road, and to my right was a field with those big round bales. You've seen those great big old round bales are about 6-8 foot tall.
Mm-hmm.
And as this car coming at me gets closer, I see there's a gun rack in the back of it. And these guys are in their camo with their orange jackets, as they're coming at me. Right after I passed them, I mean, I hadn't got but a few feet down the road when that big deer jumps out from behind one of them big old bales, and he's on his hind feet, and he's dancing.
He knew. He knew he put one over on him.
I thought, I can't make this up. He was hiding behind that straw bale from the hunters, and he come out to celebrate with me.
Happy to be alive another day.
They missed me. They missed me.
Crazy.
Yeah, Frankie says, I grew up in Indiana, so the road was between two fields. Yep, exactly. Ohio and Indiana both. It's just what's in the fields, Sometimes there's nothing in the field, and sometimes there's big old tall weeds in the field. Sometimes there's big old straw bales in the field, corn and beans and
Luana
sorghum.
says, great show tonight. Glad you liked it, Luana.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. We just do what comes natural, whatever that is. I've never figured it out yet.
We've only done 100 of these, so
people will be looking at me, and I'll seem to be just deep in thought, and just and they're like, "What are you thinking about?" Oh, well, nothing. I was just trying to figure out what it is we do on that Thursday night show.
Maybe after another 100 episodes, we'll have it figured out.
Well, maybe we shouldn't figure it out. Maybe that's what the magic is.
It may be. We'll keep doing it. If the audience keeps showing up, we'll keep doing it.
And we just keep entertaining you.
Yep.
Well, listen, we're going to let everybody go for tonight, but Lord willing, we'll be back here next Thursday night and do whatever it is that we do, and hope that you'll join us and bring your friends with you. The more the merrier. There's plenty of room here. We got a big old chat room. It'll hold lots and lots of people. I'd like to find out how many people the chat room can actually hold.
I've been on a few live streams. They can hold a lot.
We need this thing just moving so fast that we can't even read it.
Remember, Mark Lindsay CNC is on my show on Monday, so be sure and come over to All Things YouTube on Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern.
Simply Wooden Creations, Russ Clarity does a show on Saturday nights, and I'm usually on the panel there on his show. So if he does one this Saturday night, you go over there 8 p.m. Eastern time, and we'll see what's going on this week. I think he's going to have a guest. I believe that feller's coming back on. Can't remember his name. Jim, if you remember what his name is, type it there in the chat. But he's supposed to come on and talk about cameras and how he does all his recordings and stuff for his lathe work. So might be interesting to see.
Daryl?
Yes, Daryl. Yeah.
Daryl, yeah. Dreadnought Woodworking. Yeah, he's cool. I like him.
Yeah. Jim says Daryl on
Oh, they said
Saturday.
there he is. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's going to show how he does all his videoing with his cameras and stuff. So that might be interesting.
Cool.
I'd just like to have the money to buy the cameras. So if anybody's got like an extra satchel of money laying around,
We'll take it. The money, not the satchel.
that's right. I can make my own satchel. I know how to do leather work. Well, we'll let y'all go and we'll see you on down the pike. Night, everybody.